everyone, I'm Meg Traceder. I work at the Aisle Memorial Library. Welcome to Book Hooks. I have 4 books for you today, and I'm using my typical star rating from 0 to 5 stars. 0, I hated it, 5, I loved it, and you absolutely must read it. So, first things first. The Nest by Cynthia Dupree Sweeney. I gave this one a 3-star rating. Critics and fellow writers are in love with this book. I did not find quite as much to love, I'll be very honest, and I'll give you the reasons in a second. So, the story, it's about 4 siblings living in New York, and all their lives they've known about this inheritance, so they call it the nest, that they're supposed to inherit. When, I think it's the youngest, Melody, turns 40, they're all supposed to inherit, and it's grown over the years. I think it's reached, several million in the amount. So they have planned their whole lives, and of course they're thinking, oh, we'll pay off college tuition, we'll pay off our expensive homes, we'll help our failing businesses, and so they can't wait to use the money. So of course the oldest sibling, Leo, who's a total ne'er-do-well, ends up having to use a lot of the inheritance to kind of bail himself out of this very embarrassing situation. So he depletes the fund, basically. And so the siblings, he gets out of rehab, and the siblings think, okay, well, you got to pay us back. And he promises and says, okay, he's going to start this new business, and you'll have to see how things work out. But along the way, the siblings, I thought, learned some really good lessons about money and power and happiness and possessions, especially just our physical, material, wealth and things that we accumulate over time. My main problems with the book. So I liked some of the characters, but the problem was they were too many characters. So you were introduced to a character, you thought, oh, she's going to be great, I can't wait to read more about her. And then you didn't, because she introduced 5 more. And I felt like there was bad character development with several of the characters. The second main problem I had with the story was that there was this entire storyline that was present in the book that I just wasn't quite sure why. It felt very out of place in the book. And I wasn't quite sure if she was trying to pander to a certain audience. It just felt very disjointed and unnecessary. So that's The Nest. The next one is called The Expatriates by Janice Y.K. Lee. She's the best-selling author of The Piano Teacher. I loved it. I gave this a 4-star rating, loved it. I want to read more of her books. And it's about 2 really absorbing, fascinating topics. So the first is kind of this topic of how it would be to be an American expatriate living in Hong Kong, and just the culture that's there, and the kind of their daily lives, and how they're affected by being these expats in this foreign land. And that's fascinating. It's something I have not read about before. It was very new to me to consider and think about. The next one is There's This Missing Boy. And it follows these 3 women throughout the story, and one is the babysitter of the boy when he goes missing. So the guilt that she suffers. She's actually rather selfish, so you kind of think she probably should be suffering more than she is. But the story follows her, and then the mother of the boy who goes missing. And I cannot tell you just the raw heartbreak and grief and tragedy that is present in this book because of how the mother feels once her son, of course, goes missing. It's almost too painful to read at times. I mean, she captures emotion in such this pure way. You couldn't stop reading it because of that. And then it follows a 3rd woman who is struggling to have her own children, and she's kind of considering adoption at this point. She's got this kind of boy that she kind of mentors and pays for some lessons for him, because of course all these women are very wealthy. Well, the last 2 are very wealthy. And she's getting some flack because she hasn't quite committed to the adoption. So they kind of think, oh, are you stringing this boy along, But she was actually my favorite character. Just the uncertainty and kind of the grief that she faced. There's a lot about loss, a lot about parenting, and being kind of in this foreign land, and how you would deal with that. So I loved the book. The next one is Morningstar by Pierce Brown. I gave this a 5-star rating, I cannot tell you how much I love the series. It's a trilogy. This is the final one in the series, so it's over, unfortunately, breaking my heart. It is not hyperbole to say that this is one of the best series out there. I loved it. I loved it. The first one is Red Rising, which I talked about, I think, in another video. I read Golden Sun a few months ago. I was a little bit late with that one, and then this one just came out. So I can't even explain to you why it's so great. It's this complex world that he's created with really rich characters and kind of these glittering, stark environments and settings that just makes, I mean, he's brought you to another place, you know, with his descriptions. And I love, my favorite character is Ragnar, and he is a joy to read. Every time he's on the page, you cannot wait to read more. And I will admit, this is embarrassing, but I will admit to sobbing in the break room as I was reading some sections and hoping that no one came in and saw me cry, just tears streaming. Because the book, you fall in love, these characters become family, and if you don't like sci-fi, read the book. If you love sci-fi, read the book. It is so good. I couldn't get enough of it. The final one is Fallen Land by Taylor Brown. And I gave this one 4.5. I was a little bit torn on the rating for this one. And this one takes a minute to gain some momentum. It's kind of, but when it does, you can't put it down. So it's about a young boy. He's a 15-year-old. He's a horse thief. It's the final year of the Civil War. And it's this young boy, his name is Colum, and he, through some circumstances, ends up fleeing this set of very bad men that are after him and this other young woman named Ava. And the country that they're riding through to get away from these men is just war-torn. I mean, it's just this land of misery and woe. I mean, it's complete anarchy. They actually get to Atlanta after Sherman has gone through and burned everything, and so they see, you know, just desolation. And you root for these two protagonists, and they have this amazing horse that, of course, is along, you know, that's carrying them through this country. And you actually root for all three of them, and you fall in love with all three of them. It's a little bit violent. It's not terrible, but if you like Cormac McCarthy, you will love this book. I just fell in love with the characters, and you kind of have this dread, you know, how is it going to end? Is it going to be a happy ending? But I couldn't wait to turn that final page and see how it ended. I will also say it's a pleasure to read. He is truly poetic, and his way with words is just the way he describes the landscape and their love. Of course, Colum and Ava fall in love with each other, and their romance is just so sweet, and it was a joy to read. So I can't wait to see. This is not his first book. As I recall, I think he's got a few more out, but I cannot wait to read more. So that's it. I hope that you can read some of these and enjoy them as well. Thanks.